I'm just a little shorter. Just a little bit. Thank you. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we forever give Him praise and thanks for His kindness and His mercy in keeping His word that He gave to the prophets and that He gave to Abraham, that He would come and save the people of Abraham after a horrendous ordeal that they would go through for 400 years. We thank Him for His coming. We thank Him for His kindness in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. God in person. He's not a spook. We've been taught that He's a spook by the people that put us in this terrible condition. And when someone comes to tell us otherwise, out of our own ignorance, because we have not done the research, now God ain't no man. Well, you can't prove that He's other than a man.
That's right.
That's right.
You can't prove that He's out there in the sky somewhere in the sweet by and by. Because the enemy's out there flying around. And He ain't saw no heaven out there.
That's right.
And He ain't saw no angels out there. When God sent angels down to Sodom and Gomorrah to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah for their behavior, He sent some men in there.
That's right.
Is that right?
Sir, that's right.
Angels are men.
That's right.
And if the angel is a man, then God is a man.
That's right.
God only deals with men on their level. And so we thank Him for His coming. We thank Him for knowing that He had the power to destroy our enemies in the twinkling of an eye. But He cared about us. So He searched among us to find one that He could give a mission to resurrect a people from the dead level. He searched among us and He went into, I like what Brother Hashim said last week, that he was in the country. We know he was in and out of the country for 20 years before he made himself known. He was in New York, he was in California, he was in other places. He stayed with white families because he looked white, but he wasn't white. You know,
Yes,
we
sir.
got them people like that, right?
Yes, sir.
We had a brother like that in Colorado Springs, Brother Ashton.
Yes, sir.
You know, Brother Ashton, if you didn't know him and if he slicked back his hair, he might be able to pass for a white man. You know, many of our people passed back in the day to overcome the oppression and tyranny of this enemy, right? But he searched. Then he finally ended up in Detroit, Michigan, in a place called Black Bottom.
Right.
And he found people there, and because he was looking for the lost sheep, those that would fit the scripture.
That's right. That's right.
Many of us grew up in the church. We should know that when Jesus came out, the second coming of that man, He would be looking for the lost sheep. Is that right?
That's right.
And when he got to Detroit, he found there are people that did not know their names, their language, their culture, their God, their religion.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's right.
And he found one from among us, a Georgia-born black man. Is that right?
That's right.
And he put himself into this man. The man was born with the name Elijah. His last name, his surname, was given by the slave master called Pooh. Is that right?
That's right.
But he was born with the name of Elijah. His mother called him Elijah when he was born. Is that right?
That's right.
Elijah means God, my God. Is that right?
That's right.
So when he found this man, He made this man his messenger to us, so that we would not undergo the fate that he had come to do with the people that had taken us and destroyed us. We are a destroyed people. And that one that he found, we believe today, now it has been exalted. He is the exalted Christ.
Yes, sir.
He is the Messiah. If you're looking for a Christ, why not a black man?
Go ahead.
How come we still got our eye on the Caucasian, the white man? The very man that enslaved us, abused us, raped our women from the time they came on the ship to this very hour. Is that right? The very man that shoots and kills our people every day on a daily basis somewhere. There's a big protest in Aurora yesterday about a brother that they choked out. Is that right? This man told us that had us in his hands. They abused us. Is that right? They robbed us of everything.
That's right.
And then told us that Jesus was a white man.
That's right. That's what
Is that right? And we believe that.
Yes, we did.
So many of us still believe that.
Uh-huh.
Yes, sir.
And the man, Jesus, represents justice.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Have we gotten any justice in this society at all?
No, sir.
I heard a white man say, we gave y'all welfare. Is that justice? For 400 years of the worst treatment to a human being ever? Is that justice? Now, see, we're going to ask some questions today while we deliver this lecture so that we can think about what we are dealing with and think about how we're going to be able to escape, as what Brother Herman said, this civil war that's coming up and the destruction, total destruction of America and the Western world power.
That's right.
We got to figure out how we can find a safe place. There is a safe place, but we got to figure out how to get there.
Yes, sir.
And we cannot get there in the old mindset of a slave. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
So we thank Allah for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the exalted Christ. I'm not ashamed to say that.
Go ahead.
If I have me a Christ, he better be a black man.
That's right.
That's right.
Because Christ is the executioner of the judgment of God on God's enemies. And God's enemies should be your enemies. Is that right?
That's right.
And since this man has suffered here, his father was a slave. Do you understand? He was born in 1897. Elijah Muhammad. So his father and his father's father and his people were slaves in Georgia. So we know the Southern cracker, you understand, is... Look, what's cracking that whip? There you go, brother.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
I was looking for that word too. Praise Allah. We know that. We know today they still cracking that whip. Is that right?
That's right.
So, if I have a Christ, I want a Christ that would represent my concern. When I look at my people every day in the condition that we're in, we built the country
That's right.
and we live on the streets of America. Something's wrong with that picture.
That's right.
That's not justice to a people who suffered and worked in this country for 310 years free.
That's right.
Free. That made America the greatest country on the planet. You worked millions of people for free. You got the advantage on all your white brothers.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Free. Now you think about that. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us today, in modern times, if we work for anybody free, we're still a slave.
That's right.
We don't work people for free. When you see the brothers carrying this Final Call newspaper, you know, we do it out of the love of our heart, but it's not free.
That's right.
We pay for it and then we get paid for carrying it. But we don't have to pay for it when we initially start. It's like an investment that God makes in us to carry the word of God.
That's right.
You all think we crazy when we out here with this Final Call newspaper. Man, they out there in them suits as hot as Hades out there. You know, and them brothers walking around with them papers and them bean pies.
Them bean pies good.
Amen.
Praise Allah, they are good. So we want to get to the man of the hour today. And then get into what he's telling us about this country getting ready to go into a civil war. It's going to be a very deadly war. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, working among us for 40 years, was not able to get our people to accept their own and be themselves. He got some, because we're here today.
That's right.
But our people were been made slaves and made and trained to love our enemy. And so they teach that in the church. Love your enemy. God don't love his enemy.
That's right.
Yeah, but God I serve love his enemy. But you're not really serving God. You're serving the God that the white man gave you, and that's him himself. He set himself in place of God and told us, love your enemy. Is that right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
God don't love his enemy, not according to the scripture, not according to this book. He set a day of judgment for his enemy, didn't he?
Yes,
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 sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Did you read this book? Do you
Yes,
read
sir.
this book? It's a very good book when you have a key. The key was given to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
He don't love his enemy. Never had. Never will.
That's right.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad worked among us for 40 years. 40 years. And we did work. He did a marvelous work in our sight. In his working amongst us, he declared war on our slave masters. And he declared war on what they were teaching us.
That's right.
See, sometimes we get war mixed up. We think war, you got to drop bombs and shoot guns and, and all this kind of stuff and have tanks and airplanes. Well, we got planes, but the bombs that he was dropping was the bombs of wisdom to wake up the dead of his people.
Yes, sir.
The mentally dead, the spiritually dead, the morally dead.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So, he worked for 40 years to get into our minds the knowledge of God, the knowledge of self. Because of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, history was changed. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Because of what they taught. They taught us that we came from a giant continent and did nothing on that continent. Is that right?
That's right.
They taught us that we came from monkeys. So he asked the question, who is the original man?
Yes, sir.
That's a question you have to ask. He said the original man is the black man. Is that right?
That's
The
right.
Asiatic black man.
That's right.
That's right.
And that when you go and search out who that original man is, then when you go all the way back as far as you can go to the eons of time, he's God. He's the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. You can't find a God outside of the black man.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's right.
Right.
So he got into us, and many of the young brothers, since the young and the youth that always pay attention.
That's right.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And the youth was listening and they said, oh my God, you mean I'm not a Negro?
That's right.
What the white man called us, he called us Negroes, right? Where do Negroes come from? And then he was so degenerate, he called us niggers.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's
Negroes, colored boys, hams. Is that right?
That's right.
Called us boy all our life. The original man. But there was a young man in 1955 who came to a meeting to hear a message. And he was sitting in the meeting, and it's always the youth. And he heard the word of the man, and he was thinking in his mind, the man can't speak. And the man looked up at him and said, don't worry about how I'm saying it. Just think about what I'm saying and put it into that fine language that you have. Now, the man was sitting up in the balcony. He was like, dang, he just read my mind. Because he didn't speak it out. He was in the audience listening to the word.
That's right.
And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad looked up at him and told him, go put it in that fine language that you speak. Now, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was going to teachers college at that time. He was learning, and back then you really learned in school. You don't learn nothing today.
No.
But he was learning Latin, a dead language. He was learning English, you understand, and how the formation of words and prepositions and and nouns and predicates, and he was learning that, and he was saying that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was splitting verbs. Do you understand?
Come on.
So at that time, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad spoke to him, he gave him a mission. The man didn't know he was being given a mission, but he accepted the teachings.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes,
That's right.
sir.
Yes, sir.
And as he accepted the teachings, then he took on the second part of the mission, as Brother so aptly put in his lecture. He was right up in the lecture. The mission of love.
Sir.
Because this man grew up loving our people and wanting to help, but didn't know how to do it.
Come on.
And many of us are like that. The man I'm talking about is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Come on.
And in their names, I would like to greet you all with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, sir.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. Thank you, Brother Herman. Let's give Brother Herman a hand. Brother went right up into the lecture. And I remember Brother Herman, as the minister told us in a laborers meeting one time, that he wanted at least 5 mosques to be open.
Right.
And then he said, as you said, we believe we could beat history and beat the prophecy. So he said we need at least 7 of them open. So we have 7 regional areas that need to be open. And as brother said, if we're going to beat prophecy, Denver, I've always believed, is a region.
Come on.
That's right.
We got a lot of turf to cover,
That's right.
but we got to go to work
Right.
in the turf.
That's right.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And so I heard the minister say that, and it's not a coincidence that in this hour we're striving to get the funds together to do what the minister wants us to do. Now he purchased the mosque in Detroit. We paid the mortgage on the mosque in Chicago.
Yes, sir.
Burnt the mortgage. God killed the man that that was so rotten. You know, we got a farm down in Georgia,
Yes, sir.
1,600 acre farm, and so we went to Sun Young Moon in them because they wanted to latch on to us seeing what we were doing after the Million Man March. Everybody wanted to be with the Nation of Islam.
Right.
And so he wanted to loan us $800,000 to satisfy the debt on the farm.
Yes, sir.
Now I want to give you guys this history to let you know about this Civil War that we have entered into. And it starts cold, but then it gets hot. And so the minister didn't want to take that money. So he went around the nation and asked our people to come to donate. This is ours. Why should we have Sun Young Moon, the Koreans, helping us? When we spend billions of dollars in the American economy and don't get nothing from it.
Come on.
We're the largest consumer nation on the planet.
That's right.
Everybody can come into the black community and get rich.
That's right.
But us, that's right.
That's right.
And so he went to us and he asked us to help out.
Come on.
So we raised almost $4 million. And we satisfied the debt in Chicago and paid the mortgage off in Chicago and burnt it. And then we paid the mortgage on the farm. We owned the farm outright. And when the minister took the check down to the dude that held the mortgage on the farm, the dude said, well, I really didn't want the money.
Right.
You know, what he wanted to do was keep us slaves.
That's right.
You understand? Like our people, when they got up out of slavery, you know, they wouldn't sell us the land. They only wanted us to work the land so that they can keep control over us. So the minister said after he paid off the mortgage on the farm, he went to Allah and asked Allah to kill that man. And that man is dead.
Yes,
Believe
sir.
me, if the minister asked God to kill him, he's dead.
That's right.
Our God is here to defend us.
That's
Do you
right.
understand?
Yes,
He's
sir.
here to kill our enemy.
That's right.
But we have to be right with him, and when we're right with him, then he's right with us.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you all might not like this today. This might scare you away forever.
Come on.
Do you understand?
Come on.
But make no doubt about it. we have an open enemy.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
And as this enemy is fighting against himself. Now I'm going to read out of this today. This is my lecture. I read this thing very carefully. And I'm going to read out of this thing today. And I'm going to start with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But as we see the enemy today, division is everywhere. Civil war is everywhere. It's a cold concept right now. It's a cold war. Even in our own families, there's civil war. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Our children have gone crazy.
Yes, sir.
They don't respect the parents anymore.
That's right.
And the parents don't have respect for the children. So there's a war going on about who's going to be the ruler in this house.
That's right.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
In your house, you should be the ruler.
That's right.
Now, if the children are bucking, they say, no, you're not going, I'm going to do what I want to do. Then what do? You go to war.
Right.
Is that right?
That's
That's
right.
right.
You beat some behind. If they grown enough, you knock somebody out.
That's right.
And then if they still not want to do what you say do because it's your house, then you put them out.
Right.
That's right.
And you go get your own house. Do you understand? Now this house in America, the scripture says, how be it if Satan cast out Satan, how then can his kingdom stand?
Right.
How can his house, a house divided against itself, cannot stand? Look at, have you all been paying attention to the impeachment process?
Come on. Come on.
This is, I got to go into the minister's article, man. I got to make sure I get this thing clear.
Come on.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to start with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Great time of trouble, rulers against rulers. Now the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, I have to take these things off. I don't have my regular glasses. That give me that bifocal look. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, now listen to this, he said, there will come a time of trouble that has never been witnessed by man since man has been on the earth. The greatest time of trouble has not yet been witnessed and felt by man. The worst is yet to come. Once rich America and once rich Britain, both of these giants of wealth, both of these wealthy slave holders, the great statue of gold and silver, the Bible and Daniel, is now crumbling to pieces, never again to be erected for their worship. In the book of James, chapter 5, James foresaw the crumbling of their wealth. And he said, go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your ministries, for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you. Behold the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud and crieth. See, that's talking about us, see. We reap down their fields. We pick that cotton.
Right.
That's right.
You understand?
That's right.
We picked the cane. We did all the labor in the society of building the society. We built most of the mansions in the South. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So behold, he says, the gold and silver that the slave could have put to use. They never paid us. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Back in the day, they used to pay in silver and gold. You know, paper money was a new concept that came along, but they used to pay in silver and gold. $20 gold eagles, $50 gold doubloons,
Right.
Right.
you know, silver dollars. You understand? They paid in gold. And we never got none of that. So listen, he says, the combined gold and silver of America and England was more than the nations of the world could compete with. Now the great statue of gold has lost its head. See, like the minister said, and like Brother Herman said, you know, America is not respected anymore. So what was Trump's words was he's trying to make America respected again. Is that right? So he's going around and he's bulldogging people. And he's telling people, if you don't do this, we don't do that. So they got him today for a quid pro quo.
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
He told the new president coming into Ukraine, I want you to make an investigation on so-and-so. Now they got him saying it, and he's lying. Is that right?
That's right.
Always.
So he says, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, they are no longer the great head of the nations, but Allah God, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever, is great. He is bringing mankind to naught. When mankind, white race, stop calling yourself black man mankind.
Right.
That's right.
You are not kind of a man.
That's
You
right.
are the original man. You are the original woman. Is that right?
That's right.
Don't call yourself womankind, mankind. Don't get into their language. Because you are not that. You are the original type. And they came from you. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So he says, when mankind, white race, goes to war against Allah, Allah brings mankind, the white race, down to nothing. Now, he says, this is cold stuff here. He said, America is confused and there is no peace among them. Now, everybody today is asking for peace, right? Man, can we get some peace in the streets? Our people, number one. Out there picketing and protesting and asking for peace. You ain't really the peace breaker. We breaking our own peace among ourselves. But the enemy is seeking peace. They're going all over the country now asking for peace. Is that right?
That's right.
But they're the number one peace breakers. Is that right? See how they've turned this stuff around? They make you think that, now, you know, I watched a little something last night, and, you know, it was just terrible. Now, they had these little Arabs over here, you know, and when they first went over there, they were stealing the oil. When the Arabs found out they didn't have the weapons to fight them, they was throwing rocks at helicopter gunships and stuff.
Right.
And these people, the enemy says to us that they are a threat to American security. But these people were throwing rocks at helicopter gunships. And these people here was using helicopter gunships and 50 millimeter machine guns and stuff to shoot the people down. The bullets were so big they was knocking off chips of buildings and stuff. This is what this enemy said to us. And then he put us in the mind frame that we have an enemy here. But these people that are going around looking for peace, they went in and broke the peace of the people. Then they went in and took the oil wells, and they had to figure out how to get it and wrest it from the people, so they made Saddam Hussein a boogeyman.
Right.
They put him in power first,
Right.
caused him to go to war with his brother. Is that right? Civil war. Now we talking about, is America headed for civil war? As thou hast done, so shall it be done.
Go ahead, brother.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
They put brother against brother. They put that man in power, the CIA. And then they caused him in 1981 and 82 during the Reagan administration, they caused him to go to war with Iran. And you saw Muslim killing Muslim. And the enemy was back saying, I'm going to be the peacemaker. He comes in and he sides with Saddam Hussein because the Muslims in Iran had ran the enemy out of there.
Right.
The enemy was in a righteous country, and he had the women stripped down, and that's what they do when they come to conquer you. They take your woman first. And they stripped that woman down and had her swinging on poles. Do you understand? The Holy Land. There's no holier land nowhere on the planet but right there. And they went into Iraq and they had the people drinking and doing drugs.
Yes, sir.
Because they had set up another puppy called Shah Pahlavi Reza.
Go ahead.
And he was a CIA contact. And they had another CIA contact in Iraq. So when Shah got overthrown, America, they called their interest, which is what? Oil.
Right.
They said, oh, we need to get these people. Now, the man that done that, named Ayatollah Khomeini, did it from England. sending in tapes. So then America creates a civil war kind of conflict with brother killing brother because they were all Muslims.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And 1 million people lost their lives in that war.
Come on.
The Iranians came out okay. Saddam Hussein, they pulled him back. He was like their attack dog. They pulled him back, and then they developed a problem with Saddam Hussein, and all of a sudden now he became their enemy. See, when you work for the devil, do you understand?
Come on.
The devil lies. He promised you a lot of stuff, and when it don't go down, then you become his enemy. Because he's really not concerned about you rising up against him. He just uses you for his purposes.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And so Saddam was used to kill Muslims. And then as thou hast done, so shall it be done. He became an enemy. Made a comment and a statement about one of the president's fathers. And that little boy said, look, he threatened to kill my daddy. You know how they talk down there in Texas? My daddy.
Bush. No. Right.
And I ain't gonna have nobody threatening my daddy. So they fabricated. Now when I say they, not him, it's somebody behind him pushing the scene. There's another government behind the government, as the minister so aptly told us, and we have to pay attention when God gives you a man from himself.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes,
There's
sir.
a government behind the government. And this is the thing that's causing the rift right now in the country. Because Trump was never a party to that other secret part of the government.
Come on.
Right.
He's just an old billionaire playboy that happened to get elected to the highest office, not only in the country, but on the planet. Now look, we got to look at this now, by the grace of Allah. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is very key, as Brother Herman so aptly put it, in this process, in the end of this thing. Make no mistake, this is the end. And we got to get ourselves together.
Right.
So that we can survive the fall and the destruction of our open enemies and the destruction of this country. It's happening right now as we're looking at it.
That's right.
And we'll point out some other stuff. So he says, they are so confused until they are frantic. I write this because of my black people who are in the crossfire. My black people are so ignorant of the time and what will come to pass. They are so ignorant of what will continue to come to pass in the great time of trouble. See, we're very ignorant people, man.
Right.
We out here trying to make friends with the people, the very people that enslaved us and have never given us justice.
Go ahead, brother.
I love my slave master and the shoes.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Now we in bad shape, they rule, so we got to go and get things from them to help ourselves survive. But we should be looking at each other with unity, with love.
Right.
As brother said, you know, this man in this second part, he talks about love.
Right.
And we've never seen love like it was in 1995 when he called 1 million and 2 million showed up.
That's right.
And the whole world looked at black love.
Yeah.
And God is love. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
From the Capitol steps of Washington, D.C., the prayer call went out, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Right. Go
It
ahead.
never had been done in this society, in this so-called Christian nation.
That's right.
The words of all of the prophets, including Jesus himself, was ringing out in the Capitol.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's right.
They make you think that Jesus didn't speak that kind of language. He come right out of that area that they over there now calling the people enemies. And they over there killing and bombing every day. Is that right?
That's
Yes,
right.
sir.
Civil war. I want you to keep that in mind. He said they are ignorant of the diverse misunderstanding of the heads of the nations. If the heads of the nation is confused and cannot agree together on anything constructive for the people, then the people suffer as it is written. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House. She has not done anything in the way of signing bills since she's been there. because she has a problem with Donald Trump. If you saw the man who was head of the committee in the inquiry, Shifty Schiff, as Trump called him, he was incensed and angry. His face was... Now you gotta watch this thing. I'm watching this thing and I can feel his emotion. He hates Trump.
Right.
And they're gonna do what they can do in the fight that's going on to set the dude up. But it didn't play out right. The one of their people that they questioned, Sunland, they took him down and questioned him for 10 hours and was giving him the words to say, and he blew it. In the afternoon on his questioning by the Republicans, he blew it.
Come on.
He said, no, Donald Trump said to me, no, I won nothing. I won no quid pro quo, and I want the president of Ukraine to do what he said he was going to do when he got in office. Now he said in the morning he said something different, in the afternoon he said something totally different, and shifted in his chair, and you can see his head go down, and he got really red.
Right.
Because he said he blew it. Because they was telling us that Sunland was the man, you understand, that would take Trump out and they'll be able to impeach him. Now look at the fight now. Now you got Trump's people around the country that he has waking up. The racists, the bigots,
Right.
the right-wing conservatives, the gun toters, the gun lobbyists, all of them are woke. Do you understand?
Yes,
And they don't like what they see. And as Brother Herman said, and as the minister's going to say when we get to it, he said, when they get ready to do what they think they're going to do, the people ain't going to go for that. Look, they're already training in camps in the South, in the mountains. You understand? They training to kill. Like they was training to kill during the Civil War in 1860. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
The war was not about slaves. Make no mistake about that. It was not about us being free. It was about the Union.
That's right.
Do you understand? And preserving the United States as a unit. And to whip the white boy into shape because they wouldn't capitulate, Lincoln said, then bring the slave issue to the table. We're going to take away their slaves. Because they counted us as 3/5 of a human being. And they were able to garner votes by us being 3/5 of a human being by numbers, but we never voted. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, brother.
Look, man, we've been always the tricked one, the abused one. You understand? The most ignorant one in the country. So look, they fighting right now. The stock market, they're trying to make you think, see, that's their gauge into the minds of the ignorant. The stock market's going up. There's jobs everywhere. Now look, the stock market, if it yesterday was up, let's just say, quote, the stock market was up to 1900 yesterday, okay? Today it falls to 1800, so it loses 1,000, right? Tomorrow it regains and it goes up to 18,500. So then they tell the American public the stock market is up again. It has rebounded. Did you hear what I said?
Right.
It did not rebound. It never came fully back to where it was before it fell.
Exactly.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Many shares and money was taken away from people who believe that the stock market is okay. There's civil war in everything. And the hot war is when the people begin to kill each other. Right now it's economics. Right now it's social issues. Do you understand?
Yes,
right
sir.
now it's medical issues. The medical environment is involved in it.
That's right.
There's a war going on with big business. You understand? This morning on Good Morning America, this show with Jane Pauley, look, whole malls and things are closing down. Stores are abandoning the malls because people now are using online shopping.
Right.
That's right.
That's a civil war. That's a war going on that we know nothing about. And as this thing is going down, then they're taking whole malls now and they're making them into food homes.
Right.
And they're changing them now where you can go and sit down and have every kind of food under the sun from all the people on the planet. And they're opening these things up. There's 400 now on the planet in this country, and they're planning on opening at least 400 to 1,000 more. But now, in the war that's happening, as we read earlier, that God came to bring them to naught. Well, in God's at war too.
Right.
Is that right?
That's
Yes,
right.
sir.
Now let's get to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Well, let me finish with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad first. So he says, the outlook is bad. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, it will become worse and more worse than what we see and experience at the present time. Anger rising among the wicked. Now we see that, don't we?
Yes, sir.
You see anger in the Caucasians now?
Yes,
And
sir.
who
Yes,
they
sir.
take their anger out on?
Uh,
On the defenseless people.
yes, sir.
We know they're cowards, but they take their anger out on us. You know, when you drive up, he get out the car. Let me see your driver's license, your proof of insurance, and your registration. You know, and you're like, okay, yes, sir, what did I do? And don't ask him what you did, because now you're questioning his authority. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Just like it was in slavery. I want to be free. Can I go free? And when Lincoln said, y'all niggas is free, then we went and we said, well, I's free right now. And he said, no, nigga, you ain't free. Pull his rope out with his boys, and they hung us.
Uh,
And they had hanging and lynching parties all over America. They
Yes,
called
sir.
them picnics.
That's right.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. You didn't know that, huh? That's short for pick a nigga and hang it.
Right.
They call it picnic.
Right.
So y'all stop having them picnics.
Yeah.
Just have an outing.
Right.
You understand? We having an outing today in the park. We're going to have some food and whatever it is you're going to have. But stop calling them picnics.
I gather.
You know, because we already killing each other as it is.
Right.
You know, we hanging each other anyway. You know, not with the rope, but with our attitude toward one another.
That's right.
You know, so he said, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it will become worse. Anger is rising among the wicked. Their spirit is nothing but anger and dissatisfaction. Now look at this now. Look at them. They're dissatisfied about everything.
Right.
And their dissatisfaction is in us. We're dissatisfied. Is that right? But they're dissatisfied about everything.
Right.
They're challenging everything that they told us and all the fabric of their society. They're dissatisfied with it.
Right.
The white man is dissatisfied. Uh-oh. Hey. You know, lights went out. That's coming to America soon. So look. The white man is dissatisfied with being a man. He wants to be a woman.
Uh-oh.
But he still wants to rule. The white woman is dissatisfied with her white man, and she wants to take power from him. So now they've got movements and stuff that they started or they stole from our sister Tamika Mallory. You understand? They never do nothing original.
Right.
They always copycat and hang back and blood suck from the original people. But a
Right.
black woman started that, and they took over it and turned it into a lesbian affair.
Right.
These butch white women who don't want a man, they run the Me Too movement. Do you understand?
yes, sir.
So we asked our sister Tamika had to back up out of that. You know, a bunch of lesbian women come up in there. You know, the issues had nothing to do with us. The issue of that was, now it's civil war we talking about. And the war, as the minister said, as the messenger said, is right up in our families.
That's right.
And so the white woman is at war with her white man because she's wresting power from him. He wants to be a woman.
Get out of here.
That's right.
See, the Bible says women are their oppressors and children rule over them.
That's right.
That's right.
Look now, look. Praise Allah. He said, as David said in the Psalms, they give the appearance of friendship, but in their hearts they have daggers, knives for you.
Right.
See? They all out there talking about we all God's children. Well, if we all God's children, how come we can't get no justice in the courts?
Right.
Now these two police officers out here in Aurora, you know, the white DA said, well, we're not gonna file no charges. They were suspended for a minute with pay, and now they're back on the force. Now what they have done now is they included the medical people now in giving you shots of ketamine. If you get caught trying to tussle with a white man and they get you down in a position, then the paramedics come and they shoot you in the neck. They put it in your neck so it goes straight to your brain. They give you ketamine. Now that's illegal.
That's right.
And there's nobody challenging that. But they saying, well, they combative and we want to calm them down. Well, they combative because the man has got his neck on my damn throat and I can't breathe.
That's right.
Do you understand? Or they got my arm twisted so bad it's breaking and I got pain and I got to try to relieve myself of that pain. I don't need ketamine shot in my neck.
That's right.
Do you understand?
Yes,
So between them choking the man, what they call a karate choke, which has been outlawed,
Right.
Right.
and the man, the paramedics shooting ketamine in the boy's neck, he died.
He sure did.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Look, we talking about
Come on.
y'all don't see this war.
Come on, brother.
We talking about civil war. It hasn't got hot yet. And the minister's trying to save us before it gets hot. That's what Brother Herman was saying. There's 4 things that we got to do. Because this hot war is coming. And it's going to be blood. We'll get to that.
Come on.
So the wicked rise up right in your families. See, that's civil war. Members of your families rise up against you. Wicked sons and daughters rise up against their parents. You cannot treat them kindly because they have no place for kind treatment in their hearts. They will rob and kill you if possible.
Sell you out.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand? Look, this is the time we're living in, though. This is a time that has never been since there was a time and a nation.
Go ahead.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
It's a terrible time. And that's why it was written in the scripture. You understand? But we're going to pass through this time. But we got to go through this time in order to get to the other side.
That's right.
Look, a robber is a murderer. For if you catch him at his game, he thinks that you will kill him, so he sets out to kill you. The world is wicked to the core. Now this is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And listen, he said, the great time of trouble, the great time of trouble. The white man turns the country into filth and indecency with evil of the worst kind. We've never seen nothing like this. We read in the book about Sodom and Gomorrah. We can't even imagine that picture there in that country there, somewhere over there in the east. Because it don't exist anymore.
Right.
But we can look around Sodom and Gomorrah in every city in America.
That's right.
Right.
Is that right?
That's right.
And anybody that stands up to say anything about it, then they are termed homophobic. And then we're ostracized and we can't get what we want to get out of the society because we don't agree, you understand, with their mode and form of living a good life and a righteous life in America. See, that was like Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you understand? He made an object of worship and he caused everybody that when the trumpets went off, he wanted everybody to bow down. But the Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and a bad Negro would not bow down.
Come on.
Do you understand? And look at this now. Then they called him in and they said, well, you know, we're going to give you another chance to bow down to this. And Shadrach and Meshach and the bad Negro said, well, you know, we understand that you're the king. You understand that your image, you want us to worship them images, but we're not going to serve no God but our God.
Right.
So they said, well, we're going to throw you into a fiery furnace. Do you understand? We're already in a fiery furnace and been in a fiery furnace since we've been in the country.
That's right.
So turn the damn heat up.
Come on.
We got one with us like
Yes, sir.
So don't worry about none of that at all. Get yourself together.
Yes, sir.
It's hard to in America where everything is against the black man and the black woman, but we have a God with us.
That's right.
And so today we want to represent to you that God and his Christ. Not something that the enemy gave us.
Right.
Do you understand? They have no power
At all.
at all. But those of us were like you and are like our people on the street, and we heard this word.
Yes, sir.
And we prove to the world that God is real.
That's right.
That the word of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is real.
sir.
Go ahead.
The word of the minister is real.
That's right.
It stood us up, straightened us out, and
sir.
made us fearless.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Come on.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All you have to do is accept him of who he is and accept your own and be yourself.
Come on.
Praise be to Allah. Now we're going to get to the minister. Is America headed for civil war? You better know it.
Well,
Come on.
Come on.
That's right.
Is every family in America headed for civil war? Is all the institutions in America headed for civil war? The teachers are striking, don't want to teach no more. The educational system is at war with itself. Is that right? The medical system is at war with itself. Trump came out and attacked the medical system. Is that right? He took the drugs off the market. The people are shaking in their shoes because they're addicted.
shouldn't have had it.
Is that right? Man, everything is at war here. The businesses are at war with themselves. You heard of the burger wars?
Yes, sir.
Why would they use war in selling you a hamburger?
Right.
Because it's major corporations that are at war with trying to get the money out of the poor's pockets.
Right.
That's right.
But they don't want to pay the the poor a decent wage to live in high-priced America.
Right.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
They fighting right now over the economic system is at war with itself. There's a civil war going on. It's cold right now, but it's heating up and it soon will be hot. They fighting right now over minimum wage.
Yes, sir.
We can't live off minimum wage.
That's right.
Right.
And they gave me.
The average one-bedroom apartment is $1,300 a month. You don't make that off of living minimum wage. Do the math.
Right.
Right.
Not with one job.
That's right.
Hell, you need to be like they was in Living Color when they ran into the Jamaicans. I got 10 jobs.
Yes, sir.
How many jobs you got? And our women are really frustrated because they working. They get paid a little bit more than us. And when the black men come in, they look at us and decide, and they go through a hell of a decision to see if they just want to give us a minimum wage job. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And if it depends on their need. Because if they can fulfill their need with somebody other than the black man, you don't get the job. And now our women are frustrated because we are supposed to be the maintainers. Is that right?
Yes,
We're
sir.
supposed to maintain, man, that property that God has given us, that spirit that God has given us in her, which is the Spirit of God.
Right.
But if her spirit now is excited because, hell, the bills don't get paid and she got to work now and go outside of the house in a wicked world like this,
Right.
man, the women are standing out now on the corners in Detroit and Chicago and stuff. It's dangerous.
Yes, sir.
If you don't have a male person from your family, your husband, your brother, hell, they driving by and knocking you in the head and putting you in the car.
Yes,
And they do, and they trafficking you, prostitution and female trafficking and stuff. Now they dumping you in the car. So we're at war,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and that's the thing that the black man don't understand.
Right.
So let me get to what the minister said, and then we're gonna close this thing. And maybe, inshallah, Brother Herman, take it up from this article or whatever he wants to do. Or I'll put a pin in it, and inshallah, we'll come back and revisit what the minister is saying. Because this is where we want to be at today, war and separation.
Right.
Do you understand? If we're at war, how do we find that safe place? Because we're not armed,
Right.
so we need a safe place. We're not foolish to run up on somebody with a gun unless you just can't get away and you got to attack this fool before he shoot you.
Come on.
You understand? But we're not foolish to attack these people, right?
Right.
I hope we're not. We got a lot of brothers out there armed, and I see them on Facebook. They walking up and down the street with guns, and they training their children to shoot and stuff. And I'm like, the enemy's putting that out there to show you that when he get ready to go, he gonna come and get you first, because you trying to get down with him in his arena, which is a warrior nation, a warrior nature. He's a killer. He's a murderer. He's murdered everybody on the planet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He went into everybody's society and gave everybody a white Jesus and a white God and white angels.
That's right.
You understand? When the Chinese woke up, they took all them pictures down.
Yes, sir.
You don't find no white Jesus in China. You understand? They went back to Shinto and Buddhism. They got the black man back up there. They got you up there. You don't even know it.
That's right.
Got them brothers up there with them cornrows and stuff. You don't even know that, do you? Sure, you don't know that. Now you know. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he stood up on the planet and said, who is the original man, they went back to their form of worship, or their form of idolization of who God is. Do you understand?
Yes,
they had a black Buddha, a black man with cornrows. Then the white man got over there and they had a white Jesus. Until they dumped him out of there. He came over there with opium.
Yes, sir.
They had opium dens all around China. And they was in there, the British and America and all of the European nations was sucking the war and the resources out of China and all over the planet. But when Mao Zedong got up,
Yes, sir.
see, Mao Zedong, he got up.
That's right.
He started labor camps, re-education camps. He had to re-educate the Chinese to who he was. Do you understand it? They had, see, when they conquer your identity, when they take away your identity, then they can conquer you.
Right.
See, so when we talk about slaves, we didn't come here as slaves.
Right.
And we have to stop, we have to correct our people that are out there talking like that when they brought the slaves over. They didn't bring those slaves over here.
That's right.
They made slaves when we got here.
That's right.
Do you understand? How do you make a slave? And a brother just did a lecture on that. But you make them by killing his parents.
Yes, sir.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
That's why they only say 400 years. But we've been here 464 years to this date.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And it took 64 years for them to make a slave.
That's
How do you do it? You bring the people under here under the false pretenses that we're going to make more money for our labor. We're going to get gold and all this kind of stuff. There's a new world. And our people love gold.
Yes. Yes.
We had all the gold on the planet.
Right.
So they jumped on the ship. Do you remember now? They jumped on the ship because they was going to make gold for their labor.
Right.
So we got on the ships willingly. And everything was okay. See, we don't understand that history. Everything was okay when we sailed over here. See? Look, man, they didn't mistreat them on the ships. They needed them to get here to make babies.
Come on.
And as they made the babies, then they killed the parents. And when they reared and raised the children, they raised the children as niggers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Niggers made in America.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So they raised the babies. And they raised the babies as niggers and Negroes and colored people and boys. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And as they raised the children, they needed somebody here as a what's the word I'm looking for?
Nanny.
That too.
Nanny.
But
That too.
as a representative to the others that they was bringing over here.
Yeah, right.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So as we said one time in election, when Kunta and them got here, they met Fiddler and Chicken George.
Right.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
Who are these people?
The trainee.
When Kunta said, Fiddler said, I's a nigger. And Kunta said, well, what is a nigger? And he said, well, you a nigger. He said, no, I Kunta Kinte. What is a nigger?
Right.
So in that process of that 64 years of making slaves, they murdered our identity.
Yes, sir.
They took away our God. You saw, man, y'all got to go look at this movie again, the original one, Roots, or get the book. Kunta was praying to Allah.
Yes, sir.
He was a Muslim. He knew who his God was. He had that fiery, fierce spirit.
Yes, sir.
we'll get to that another time. Anyway, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says in this article, in this speech, this was a speech he gave. He says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows." So nation rising against nation. Do you understand? He says, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famine. And as we were saying, as this civil war is building, it's a cold war. Now there's famine in the country. They're not telling us that yet. But when you get up early in the morning and flip on the news, they're talking about how the famine is affecting certain areas and there's a drought in the country. Do you understand? And they're not able to grow the crops like they're going. So now they're in the laboratory experimenting with the crops, trying to get them to grow in dry, arid land.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
The famine is coming. Famine will make the country hungry. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, his brother Herman said, see, there's 4 things we got to do. And that's a part of one of them 4 things. We got to find a place of survival. How many of you store food in your home? You got to have some food. You got to have some water. If we live in a cold climate like this, we got to have blankets. Hell, the heat ain't going to work. You got to be warm in a climate like this. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So this is the thing that God is doing to the country as he's infuriating and bringing up the fire in the hearts of the men to go to the final war of this country, which is the Civil War, the hot part of it. We're in the cold part. Now listen to what the minister says. He said, "This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than they are lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away."
Come on.
Now we see that, right?
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Who's the most proud that we got right now in our face? Donald Trump.
That's right.
Donald Trump don't give no credit to nobody, nowhere, at no time.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's right.
He comes out and say, I did this. Is that right?
And we'll tweet it.
In our study lab classes, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, you know, we should use the soft pronoun I. Not the big pronoun, because we exist by his pleasure.
Right.
If he was to turn off, and he says it in the Quran, if Allah was to cause a fly to take a morsel from your plate, we could not call the fly back to give back what he took.
That's
We are
right.
both the invoker and the invoked. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Man, praise Allah. All right, I'm glad we're in agreement about that.
Come on.
You know, we all, you know, when them flies be flying around, what do we be trying to do? Kill them, right? Swat them, get them out the way. I don't want you to take that little piece.
Okay.
Because I don't want you to survive because you're a nasty, filthy creature. You come from a maggot. Did you all know that? Now you do. Praise Allah. For this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts, ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of truth. See, this is the minister talking about this America getting ready to go into this civil war. The civil war that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said is right up in the family. You understand? Children rising up and stuff. We're at war. Remember this now. The Holy Bible in book Timothy 3-1, 2 Timothy 3rd chapter 1-7. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was, since there was a nation, even to that time, that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book of God. That Michael represents Farrakhan.
Yes, sir.
Farrakhan is 86 years old.
Yes, sir.
He's still teaching us.
Right.
Yes, sir.
He literally has overspent his time among us. But it's the love that he has for us that's causing him to continue to come out and teach us. Many of us are so disrespectful of the man teaching us the word of God. We say, oh, I heard that already.
Yes, sir.
But did you get the lesson?
Come on.
Did you learn the lesson? See, we're talking about getting away from an open enemy that God wants to kill. But we say, oh, no, man, we need to get some candidates in there to run against them so we can get some justice. But you didn't make the policy of the country. The whole foundation of this country is based in white supremacy.
That's right.
So God has to destroy the schools. Well, you got to go to school to stay. No, you don't. You don't want to go to these kind of schools. Open your own school.
That's right.
That's right.
Then you can challenge an enemy of God.
Right.
But you can't challenge the enemy of God with his school.
That's right.
Right.
He set it up.
Yes,
He
sir.
didn't give you some of the things that you need, the bullet points to conquer him.
Right.
He only gave you a little bit. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
He didn't give you the secret part.
Come on.
The secret part is that you are the God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He didn't give you that part. They study that in secret. They call themselves Masons, Muslim sons.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
They get to a certain level of knowledge and they leave this book, which is 32 degrees. You understand?
Yes, sir.
If you know anything about basic science, when you get to 32 degrees, you just reach freezing. There you go, you froze. And when they get to the 33rd degree, they pick up this book.
Right.
They learn the name of God,
Right.
Allah.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
They give the greeting, Assalamu alaikum.
Right.
They give the greetings of all of the prophets. But they don't go past 33 degrees. Do you understand? They just barely got 1 degree above freezing so that they can rule the society of people that they keep in darkness. Now look at what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said. He said, as we read this article, many wars are raging in different parts of the world, causing widespread death and destruction. You all tired of seeing that on the news?
Yes, sir.
You know, it done got to the point now where now they catching these little boys that are getting these weapons and somebody's ratting them out. They getting ready to go into school and just waste the school. You understand? They just caught some little boy down south he had planned to go into the church and kill black folks again. Somebody ratted him out. Well, I think they done it because they didn't want black folks to go off this time.
Right.
You know, because the ones that they killed in South Carolina, we still in there on our knees praying to that dead white Jesus to forgive him because he don't know what he's doing. But he clearly knew what he was doing
Right.
because he left one alive and said, go tell them I'm going to start a race war.
Right.
And that's why I killed all these niggas up in here. Do you understand?
Right.
And our people have not learned the lesson yet that when you bring somebody into your house of worship, you should check them.
Right.
Because, you know, you never know what the preacher did to somebody's wife the other night. Hell, the preacher, look, man, the preacher might have been messing with one of the congregants' wives. And he done got upset. He coming in with his gun, and this has happened many times that they reported. You understand?
Yes, sir.
You come in there talking about, man, that preacher over there messing with my girl, man, my wife, and they, you know, they sleeping around. I'm coming in, I'm gonna kill him, and I'm gonna kill that preacher in that pulpit, that lying so and so and so.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
We at war.
Right.
Is what we want to say. He said, North and South, East and West, tribe against tribe, one ethnic, racial or religious group against another. These lines of division that have bred hatred between those of similar ethnic and racial origin are being fed by wicked external forces whose great desire in producing their ideal of a new world order is to reduce the population of the people of the earth by several billions. Do you understand? So, look, we are upset with the Mexicans. The Mexicans are our brothers.
That's right.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
But they give them preference over you. Well, you should already know. See, that's why we got to give you the truth. You should already know they ain't never gave you nothing.
Right.
And we got to stop looking to them for them to give us something. When the Mexicans come over here, they recognize that they are not liked. So they pool their resources.
Right.
We cannot stand to be in each other's presence. Do you understand?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
We walk in, man, and we say, hey, brother, what's up? I ain't your brother. My mama didn't tell me I had another brother. That means they go all the way there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tell the truth about it.
Look, I called a brother one day. He looked at me and said, my mama didn't tell me I had another brother. And I didn't know what to say.
Right.
I'm ready with the words, but I didn't know what to say. That was the first time I ever heard that. For people.
Against one another.
And you know why? Yes, ma'am, there you go. Against one another.
That's right.
We have no love for one another. None. And when we see a black man rising up, envy comes up right away.
Yes, sir.
Jealousy comes up right away. And the minister said to us, if you are envious and jealous of a brother that's using his God-given talent to raise himself up from the condition that he's in, you're not really jealous and envious of that brother. You are jealous and hate God. Because the gift comes from God. Do you understand? Praise God. So he said North Korea and South Korea, North Vietnam and South Vietnam, North Yemen and South Yemen, Northern Sudan and Southern Sudan. These various civil wars that are taking place on the African continent and among the people of the former Soviet Union are all signs that the wise should reflect upon. See, Ukraine is in the former Soviet Union. They're at war. Trump is touting himself that, thank you, they're giving me time. Trump is touting himself that he sent javelins into Ukraine.
He sure did.
Tanks and stuff to help fight off the Russians. Is that right? But Trump had a quid pro quo. Let me just say that.
What is
Don't
that?
get that out of your mind. This for that, tit for that. You understand? That's what that is. I do this if you do that. See,
Come on, brother.
that's what he
Come on,
did.
brother.
He told the Ukraine president, you want to get legitimization? He said, you do this, I'll bring you to the White House, and everybody will bow down and say, Ukraine is on time. He did that. You understand? He did that.
Right.
And then he ordered all the people that are around him that know that he did it, do not go down there and comply with what the Democrats are trying to do. So all of them backed up Pompeo and all them. You understand? They said, we're not going down there. But the Democrats are working. The Democrats are demons.
Right.
Remember that now.
Go ahead.
Now you got to remember, because we got to let you know, before the Democrats, when Lincoln so-called freed us, we took Lincoln's party. Is that right? Yes. Lincoln was a Republican.
Right.
The demons came in later when they saw that the slave population was exploding and the Republicans would continue to have rule and sway over the country. They came in with the new party called Democrats, and we became Democrats. And they promised you everything under the sun, and they never did nothing for you. Remember that. John F. Kennedy did nothing for black people.
Right.
Neither did Bobby Kennedy, you understand?
Right.
Bill Clinton put your children in jail forever.
Right.
Do you understand?
Right.
Y'all stop going under these lies that these people lie. The lying is people are the Democrats. And the Republicans are their brothers, and they lie just as much.
Right.
Remember that. So, in my conclusion, praise be to Allah. Look, we're not going to finish this, but we would like you all to get a Final Call newspaper and finish reading the minister's articles. The minister said, the prophets of the Bible said, the wicked shall seek peace, but they shall not find it. They shall say peace, but the result will be more war. Is that right? Have we seen that? He said, the reason for this is that the real way of peace, which is submission to the will of Allah God, is not being adhered to. The United States of America is moving closer and closer to great civil strife, unrest, and bloodshed. Although the American people are supposed to be the citizens of one nation, the division between labor and management is growing more intense. The division between the haves and have-nots is getting wider and wider, and that breach is being filled with hatred. The division between politics, right and left, is filled with hatred. The division between, he said, the division between politics, right and left, so-called Christians, right and left, liberals, conservatives, and all of the many causes that people are giving themselves to, whether social, religious, or political, are now being beginning to show the signs of bloodshed. That's the Civil War. Do you understand?
Yes,
So,
sir.
brothers and sisters, I hope and pray, that we didn't scare you.
The truth should set you
If you, yes ma'am, you shall know the truth,
free.
and the truth will make you free.
Right.
See,
I'm not scared about the truth.
what truth is it? The truth of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So I hope and pray that we said something that, will cause you to think about where you at today and what's going on with us. We need unity and love amongst each other to survive what's coming what's here in America and getting hotter by the minute.
That's right.
We're in the cold part of the Civil War, but the Civil War is heating up and it will become hot. And when you get into the book of Revelations, it says the blood will flow down the streets to the horse's bridle. There will be war, there will be killing and murder everywhere. And you hearing it now, little tidbits on the news. Every day you wake up, there's murder somewhere.
That's right.
There's murder this morning.
That's right.
There's murder every morning when we wake up, somebody got killed somewhere
That's right.
in our community,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
in everybody's community.
Everybody.
Do you understand?
That's right.
So it's a cold war, Civil War right now, but it's heating up.
Right.
And as it gets hotter and hotter, we got to know the truth, like Sister said, that will make us free and get us into a place of safety. That place of safety, as Brother Herman so aptly put it, he went right into my lecture, keep your eye on the prize.
Come on.
And the prize is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Praise God. Brothers and sisters, thank you very much. Thank you, Brother Herman, for allowing me to teach today.